Hi everybody, Josselyn here. I've been pressed for time this week, so this is a quick workout that I designed. Feels good, a little sweaty, moves the spine around, lengthens the hip flexors, shoulder stability, blah, blah, blah. Let's go. So come down on your back. Feet about hip distance apart, arms relaxed. Start right away with pelvic tilts. So we're going to press the low back down and then release the pelvis slightly in the opposite direction, extending the spine. Just 5 more. Just starting to notice if there's more weight on one side of my pelvis than the other. So trying in this nice simple first movement of articulation of the pelvis and spine to get as even as possible. Breathing. Inhale as I arch, exhale as I curl, a little bonus one, inhale as I arch, exhale as I curl. Finding a neutral pelvis, I'm going to take my arms to a goalpost position, getting a little opening through my pecs. I'm going to heel toe my feet wide to the mat. I'm just going to start to windshield wiper my knees from side to side. Introducing a little internal and external rotation of the femurs, a little twist and rotation of the spine. I'm not inhibiting my ribs from moving, but I'm just allowing them to soften back so I can start feeling a little bit of length in my psoas. I'm going to take the knees over to my left, and then I'm going to extend my arms and start to roll gently onto the left side of the body, beginning to circle my arm just 3 times in one direction. I'm imagining there's a big orb or a circle around me. I'm just trying to paint as much of that surface of the circular orb as possible, and then reversing the direction, allowing my ribs to soften back, but keeping my pelvis slightly rotated so that I begin to feel a little bit of release in my psoas and low back. Taking the knees over to the other side, and here we go, circling. Checking off a lot of boxes here, getting some shoulder mobility, some thoracic mobility, some articulation in my spine, a little hip flexor opening, multitasking, even though there's no really such thing. 1 more. Good. Coming back to center, I'm going to keep my arms in that goalpost position for today, just allowing there to be an extra opening through my chest. It's also a little extra challenge for my ribs to stay down. Bringing my feet hip distance apart. Taking an inhale, exhale, start to tuck the pelvis and roll the hips up into a bridge. And then articulating back down. Inhaling. Exhaling, feeling my knees driving forward, my heels pulling back, my sitting bones narrowing, my ribs dropping, sacrum pressing up to the ceiling and rolling down. So if all those cues are a little overwhelming, no worries. Pick one that resonates with you, explore it, and then maybe add on another, and then maybe another. So in these simple movements, infinite amounts of possibility for refinement, for play, for exploration. I'm going to do 2 more. Just noticing where some of the sticky parts of my spine are today. Because this is a quick workout, I might not be able to do a lot of detailed work, but just seeing if I can coax a little more movement into the spots that feel a little sticky. I'm going to heel toe my feet wide. So my heels are about shoulder distance apart now. My knees are externally rotated, so I'm kind of in this little butterfly or second position. And then I'm going to continue my bridge in external rotation. So now I'm working a little more of my glute max, my side hips. I can't see my kneecaps from here really, but I'm visualizing drawing a straight line from my kneecap down my shin to my second and third toe, space right in between. So my feet are reflecting the external rotation of my thighs, and my knees are kind of gently caught in the middle still in alignment. I'm going to do 2 more. Still thinking about lengthening my tailbone forward. 1 more, I'm going to come up and hold. I'm going to put my hands on my hip bones here and just feel like I can give myself an extra little bit of traction, thinking about my pelvis moving away from my ribs and my ribs dropping down. I'm going to lift my heels up and I'm going to start to turn my toes forward and externally rotate my legs. Forward and press. Now I'm comfortable in my low back here. If I was feeling a little tender today, I might lower down a little bit, tuck my tailbone under a little bit more. And then what I'm feeling here is that I can get a little more action through my glutes, pressing my sacrum up to the ceiling as my legs externally rotate. I'm going to do 3 more. And 2. And 1. And then I'm going to roll my spine down, down, down. I'm going to heel toe my feet back to sit bone distance apart and interlace my hands behind my head. Staying in a neutral pelvis right now, taking an inhale, exhale, elbows stay in my peripheral vision, going for an upper abdominal curl, inhale, releasing back, exhale, curl. Just 6 repetitions today, so 4 more. Feeling the downward rotation of the ribs, feeling how my pelvis is wide and flat. Noticing if my hip flexors want to take over. Checking out my ribs. Keeping my head heavy in my hands, letting the sternum soften. 2 more. Last one. Curling up. I'm going to gently press my low back to the mat. I'm going to lift my right leg up into tabletop. Lift my left leg up. I'm going to go for a modified series of 5 today, just 6 repetitions in each position or each set. I'm going to take my hands to my right shin. I'm going to pull my right knee into my chest a little more, extending my left leg long. Here we go for 6 times. 6. 5. Single leg stretch. 4. 3. Thinking length. 2. And 1. Both knees in. I'm going to rest my head down, send my arms up to the ceiling, keep my ribs down, keep my low back nice and protected. Extend my arms and legs long, circle my arms, pull my knees into my chest for 1. So in some ways, having the head down, I feel, is more challenging or a different challenge. Because when we curl, the ribs are downwardly rotating already. And when we keep the head down, it's that extra little bit of challenge and load on the system to ask the ribs to flow down towards the pelvis without that upper abdominal curl. 2 more. Last one. I'm going to curl up. I'm going to extend both legs up to the ceiling. I'm going to hold onto the back of my right shin. I'm going to pull my leg in and then switch for 6. I'm not doing a double pulse today. Just thinking length. 4. 3, 2, 1. Both legs up. I'm going to rest my head down again, press my arms down, getting a little bit of work through the backs of the arms, slightly externally rotate the legs, hug the heels together, lower the legs down, and up. Okay, so we can all see how far down I'm going today. Super exciting. So I'm okay with it. But if I were to take my legs down more, then lots of fun stuff starts to happen in my spine and in my ribs. So I'm focusing on what my true range is. Feeling the work. Keeping the ribs down. And feeling length through my toes. Bending the knees in, interlacing the hands behind the head, curling up right into crisscross, nice and slow for 6. And 6. And 5. And 5. Trying to imagine like a taffy-like quality in the legs and even in the spine. So everything is getting pushed and pulled rather than locking from position to position. 2 more. 2. 1 more. 1. And 1. Hugging the knees into the chest. I'm gonna rock and roll up to sit. Scoot back a little bit, cross my legs, and meet you guys on all fours. Okay, so no cat-cow today, but we're gonna go right into some shoulder stability. So I'm gonna keep my spine long. I'm gonna draw my shoulder blades together, and I'm gonna push them apart. So in this nice simple movement, taking a look at my hands and my wrist creases, making sure my wrists are parallel to the front of the mat. My elbow creases, my elbow pits, are looking directly over my thumbs. My spine is as neutral as I can keep it. And the cue that works best for me is just to imagine my shoulder blades like slippery bars of slope gliding around my rib wall. I'm gonna do 2 more. Last one. Keeping my shoulder blades firm and flat on the back, I'm going to move my right hand more or less underneath my nose, turn my right leg in, send my left leg out long, and then boom, I'm on my side. I'm going to push the floor away, extend my neck long, and press my hips forward so I start to feel a little bit of work in the back of my right leg and glute. I'm going to point my left foot, keep my hand on my hip just for some support here, up and down 6 times, leg kick, 6. 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep the leg lifted. Take the arm up to the ceiling for a little extra challenge. I'm going to flex the leg forward, point back. Flex forward, point back. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Next time the leg is back, I'm going to keep it there. I'm going to rotate slightly on the diagonal, reaching my fingers and my toes in the opposite direction and lift. Lift, lift, lift. 5, 3, 2, 1. Coming back to neutral, I'm going to place my left leg down. I'm going to lift and scoot my right leg behind my left, so I'm in a side plank now, and I'm going to press my hips back on the diagonal, push my right hand to the mat, and thread the needle with my left hand. Back to side plank, just 2 more. This is too much on your wrist. Drop down onto your forearm, no worries. 1, and then not plopping, but slowly retrograding the movement. Giving my right arm a little shake. And just 3 more of those shoulder blade or serratus push-ups just to get set up for side 2. Taking my left hand more or less underneath my nose. I'm going to rotate my left. And then bam, I'm on my right side. I'm going to lengthen my tailbone towards my heels, press my hips forward, hand onto the hip. Crown of the head long. Here we go. 6, 5, 4. Articulating from the hip joint. Not from my spine. 3, 2, 1. Arm up to the ceiling. Stretch the hands away from each other. Flex forward, point back. 4. Trying to limit the movement in my torso. There's going to be a little bit, of course, but seeing if I can keep it as quiet and organized as possible. Last one, go back and hold. Start to rotate on my left hip joint on the diagonal. Reach my fingers and toes away, fill up my kidney area with breath so I'm not collapsing in my mid and low back. Up, up, up. 3, 2, 1. Coming back to neutral, placing my right leg down. I'm gonna lift up through my bottom ribs, take my opposite leg behind, and thread the needle. Pushing down through all 5 knuckles of my hand. Feeling how that relates to the integrity of my shoulder. And then slowly retrograding. Good. And then comes to sit down on my knees. Okay, so working on the idea of hip hinging, opening up a little bit through the front of the hip. I'm going to balance my ribs right over my pelvis. I'm going to reach my arms forward, and then I'm going to come up, pressing my shin bones into the mat, pressing my sacrum forward the same way I did in that bridging position, trying not to let the ribs hang back, but staying very balanced with my ribs right over my pelvis, and lowering down. Lifting up,
I did this exercise with a client this week and we were laughing that it felt kind of like old school cotillion. If anyone knows what that is, where they like place a book on your head and you have to walk around. So she had a little chuckle about that. It's actually kind of a nice image. Thinking about balancing something on the crown of the head as you go forward and back. And up. Going right into a modification of thigh stretch. So we're going to keep the ribs balanced over the pelvis. Try to open up through the front of the hips, which is a super big challenge for my body. And we're going to start to hinge back. Thinking about lengthening through the back space, pressing the hip bones open and forward. Just 3 more. Paying attention to your shins here, as if there's not enough to pay attention to. Thinking if you can really stretch the pinky toes out and down. And that helps to turn on the side calf muscles, which in turn helps to support your lateral hip muscles. Okay, I'm gonna lean back and hold, adding some load. I'm gonna lift my arms up. Oh goodness. Take the whole shape forward. Arms down, just 3 more. Back. Lift. I'm going to think about how my thumbs can lift my back ribs up off of my pelvis. Forward. Last 2. Get longer. Tease length out of your spine from your fingertips. And up. Arms down. Last one. Lengthen. And then from there, keeping my pelvis as upright as possible, I'm going to round my spine. Round my spine. Round my spine. And then come to snake down to lie on my tummy. Okay, working the upper back. I'm gonna come to a goalpost position. Stretch my legs long. Feel length in the front body, pressing the whole front of the pelvis equally into the mat best I can. I'm gonna float up to a small upper back extension. I'm gonna feel my elbows reaching away from me as I float my arms up. Lower my arms down. So I'm on this raised mat. So my elbows are kind of hanging off. But you at home will most likely be on the floor. Well, it's kind of nice. You can almost feel your elbows reaching wide on the floor away from you as you lift up. So it's a different feeling than just squeezing your shoulder blades together. We're really trying to find width here. And down. 1 more. And down. I'm going to prop myself up onto my forearms. I'm going to drag my sternum forward. I'm going to press my feet down, and then I'm going to think about lifting my abdominals up a little bit. So I'm not just dumping in my low back. I'm really staying extended. I'm going to think about gently pressing my hands out. So that's an isometric action. It's going to help to turn on the muscles of my rotator cuff. Keep my feet very active. And then without moving anything else, I'm going to kick, kick, and down. Kick, kick, and down. Kick, kick. Kick, kick. This can be very low. Kick, kick. Kick, kick. Or a little higher up. Everyone's back has a different degree of extension and tolerance to extension. Doesn't mean it can't improve over time, but you want to try to meet your body where it is. Maybe ask a little bit more of it, but really listen. Kick, kick, and kick, kick. Good. All right, from there, reintegrating the abdominals. I'm going to push my elbows down. I'm going to start to feel my pelvis rotating. I'm going to keep my legs pretty passive. There I go, I'm shaking. And then extend my spine back out to that sphinx-like position. Just 2 more. I'm going to start by feeling my pubic bone chase my belly button. My belly button chase my sternum. My sternum is still trying to reach forward. And release down. Whew, 1 more time. I'm going to tuck my tail. I'm going to gonna feel my ribs absorb into the body. I'm gonna try to lengthen my spine, and then I'm gonna press back. Give my shoulders a little roll, and then right back, finding a plank position now. So one foot back at a time, other foot goes back. I'm gonna take a second and just organize my feet. So I mentioned those little pesky pinkies. They sometimes get lost. I'm gonna think about hugging my shins in, spreading my toes wide to lengthen my spine forward. I'm gonna feel my hip bones reaching up and back, finding a pike position or a downward dog. Then I'm gonna keep feeling my heels reaching back as the crown of my head goes forward. I'm gonna send the hips up and back and forward. Sending the hips up and back and forward, keeping my feet nice and organized, hugging my thigh bones towards each other. One more time. And then dropping down to my knees, taking a child's pose. Rolling back up. And there we have it. See you next time.